views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
You are listening to Ability Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Headly-LaMont of the Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands. And today we are meeting with or having a conversation with one of our colleagues in the struggle for civil rights for persons with disabilities. Her name is Monique Bute, and she's the director of the Center for Independent Living. Good day. How are you?
Good day. I'm doing good.
Well, I think what would be very helpful for a number of us in this community is to understand the kind of work that the Center for Independent Living does. What is it? What is the Center for Independent Living?
Okay, our nonprofit name is Virgin Islands Association for Independent Living. It is a Center for Independent. It's a nonprofit that is consumer-controlled, community-based, cross-disabilities, non-residential, for individuals with significant disabilities that promote independence.
How did it come about?
Well, the independent living movement started when, people with disabilities being tired of being discriminated against and began to fight back, especially with institutionalization. Most in the 1940s, and so people were placed in institutions when they had a disability because they don't know what to do with them. So the movement started and stems from fundamental principle that people with disabilities are entitled to the same civil rights, options, and control over choices in their own lives with people without disabilities. And, that was inspired by the civil rights movement and the women's rights movements in the 1960s and 70s. Ed Roberts is like the father of independent living, was instrumental in the movement as well. He contracted polio when he was in his teens and fought to have equal access to education and founded the first Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, California in 1972. And, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, prohibits disability discrimination in federally funded programs. And then the American with Disability Acts came about in the 1990s, which guaranteed equal access in employment, transportation, and public accommodations.
Okay. Well, I note from previous conversations that your organization is centered around 5 care services that's being offered here in the territory. Can you tell us what that is?
Sure. Our 5 core services include advocacy, which is individual advocacy and system advocacy, independent living skills training, information and referrals, peer support, peer counseling, and peer mentors, and transitional service from school, nursing homes, or institutions for persons with disabilities.
Okay, now let's parse that out a little bit more. What do we mean by peer counseling and peer support and peer mentorship? Let's break it down. What do we mean by that?
Peer counseling, peer support, it's all people with similar disabilities helping navigate and assisting persons with the same disability or similar disabilities to be more effective in their skills. Because then they already lived it, they went through the process, they know a better way of doing something that you might not have thought of, and they're able to counsel you in that area.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
Okay. Well, if you're visually impaired and you know how to cook, and then now someone who has just lost their vision does not remember how to do certain, they cannot identify items anymore, or they need that extra support because they're feeling at a disadvantage. So they're able to walk them through, this is how I do it. Maybe you can do a different method in your own kitchen if you want to continue to cook. But this is how I do it, and this is how, maybe I would recommend you doing this. And if it doesn't work for you, you can figure out a different way of doing it that will work for you. But you can still do the skill. You already learned it. You know it. You can still do the skill with the new disability that you have.
So it could even, relate to measurements and adjusting temperatures and such, or identifying.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Dials, so
right.
you know exactly where you are when the cooking process.
Right. You can label the different seasonings and make sure you know what's salt and not sugar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In a special way that that it's comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
To label it. Sometimes there's assistive technology that can assess you with seeing my eyes. You can get someone on the phone and they will be your eyes to identify the item as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're here to assist.
Okay. Another service you mentioned is transitional service. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, transitional services it's different services. There's those who need independent living skills training. They're coming out of high school. They don't know how to navigate, or, it does include all 5 core services, but it's transitional.
Mm-hmm.
So they might be coming out of school. They don't know how to operate in the world because they've been in school. Like everybody else, there's a period that they need to figure out where life is.
Mm-hmm.
And with persons with disability might take a different direction, and it might be a little more challenging to navigate. That's where we come in and help you in making sure that you have all the skills that you need to navigate the world as a person with a disability. And that's for a nursing home. You might be in a nursing home because then you may have lost function somewhere along the line. But now that you're back on your feet, you're able to go back into your home or into a community-based apartment or situation, that you are able to learn the skills to get you back, even if you need to learn how to budget, to do budgeting and everything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be one of your skills that you need to learn: how to budget your money, how to handle your finances, or how to clean your home,
Mm-hmm.
or even to move around your home. Those are where we're in transitioning from, and making sure that you have that mechanism in place, so that you don't feel lost when you move.
Right. We've seen over the years, certainly at the Disability Rights Center, parents who are, custodians for their children. And sadly, quite often, it's very difficult for the adult parents to let go of their now grown adult, child, for lack of a better word. And the difficulty is when, the parent is no longer able to provide, basic services for that child. Where does this now adult, how does that individual manifest their skills, right? Living skills.
Right.
How does, yeah, go ahead.
I try to say to parents right now, where don't treat your children because they have a disability any different than if you had as person without a child without a disability.
Mm-hmm.
Still try to teach them the basic skills that they need to survive.
Right.
That's priority.
Right. Have you had much impact in that regard, or much success?
It's hard for especially for older parents to understand that, they have a stigma on there's a stigma that they grew up with, that their child will be looked at differently. They don't want their child to be out in the public per se, unless it's a controlled environment, because then they don't want any kind of discriminations to happen to their children. But they gotta be, yes, there is things in that happens in the world. And if we can educate people on discrimination against people with disabilities, it's not something that should be done. And there's ways that they can assist. It would help further our cause.
Right.
You know, people with disabilities can do things. They're just uh labeled differently. We have people in all different kind of disability, but they can still do things, and it's based on their ability, not what you think they can do.
Right.
So we just need to make sure that people know that their children can still do things, and don't hide them out. That's the old way of living, and to get you into that they have their rights as well, and to making sure that they can operate within the community as best as they can.
Right. Now, another thing you mentioned was information and referral services that your organization provides. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, we try to get all the nonprofits, the local governments, if we can get the housing communities where we can get their applications, their procedures on how to do things, so that we can, when you call us for the information, that we can readily give you this information, whether it's an application or their procedures, what their procedures for this agency is, and how to go about navigating the different agencies and what services, depending on what services the individual needs.
Okay, so you're I guess, a gatekeeper of information as well, right? For the community.
Right.
All right. Tell
For the
us about
community.
you also mentioned advocacy services, and you gave some pretty good examples as to what that means. With respect, for example, with medication. Tell us what the advocacy component is of your work.
Well, advocacy could be making sure that the laws are in place, that, people with disabilities have the equal access rights there. Then we have the advocacy as an individual, making sure that when they go into a supermarket or they go into the pharmacy, as you mentioned, that there are they're equally access. There's equal access to all a normal person without a disability. I don't like to say normal, but a person without a disability can navigate. So if that means that they have to call in advance, well, I'm a person who's visually impaired, I need coming into the store to shop. Is there a person who can assist me? That's an accommodation that the stores them should be able to provide for the consumers in an everyday setting.
Right.
The same thing with the pharmacies. There, you can go into the pharmacies, and there's a way that the pharmacy can give you medication with a script, with a certain machine that reads the script for you and tells you the medication is to be taken in the morning or in the afternoon. There's certain equipment that should be available at each pharmacy, or there is a way that the pharmacist can give you your medication and explain to you how that this is to be taken. And we train our consumers how to label your medications. You mix them up. That it's morning, noon, or night. That you can label your medication, so you can readily identify that this is the one that I need to take in the morning. And if you have to take it twice, there's a way that you can label your medication to take it twice as well. So I mean, advocating, they have to be able to speak what they need from each store or pharmacy or wherever they are entering, what their needs are at that point as well. And we run into a situation where they don't want to be an inconvenience.
Right.
And I said, no, it's not an inconvenience. It's your right to ask or request these services at the customer service counter as you go in, or at the pharmacy as well.
That's right. They wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for, consumers purchasing their goods. So,
right.
About how many people does the organization serve?
Right now, we're at 177. Right now, we would like to see more people with disabilities to come out and use our services. but we're at 177 on our regular.
Okay. And is there a fee for the service?
There is no fee for the services. We try to make sure that the services that we provide are free of charge, not a paid fee, unless it's a specific area that's outside our current funding source, then that would be a fee for service.
Okay. Give us some examples in which there would be a fee for service situation.
We do transportation services for our consumers that's not program related. Those where they go to, say they go to the shop, go to the store, or go to the bank. Those are outside. That's outside of our core services. That's a fee for service.
Okay.
There's other things like if they would like to purchase a cane, that's a fee for service, because actually it's not a fee for service, that's a service. They have to pay for the equipment that they need. Right now, we don't have any that we can give free. Those that we could give free, we already have extended those. They're rentals that they can rent wheelchairs and walkers. If I have any available, we can also donate. If I have anything available that I can donate, I can donate it. But other than that, that's our services that we have for fees.
Okay. Tell us where you're located.
On St. Thomas, we're located number 8 Ram Anna's Retreat. That's right across from the Eastern Lumber in Tutu. Entrance. You'll see our sign. It's posted. We're the first house on the left as you enter that roadway. And on St. Croix, we're in the Sunny Isles Shopping Center in the avenue where Falcon gas station is.
Okay. Now, if somebody wants to make contact with your office, how would they go about doing that?
St. Thomas office telephone number is 340-777-4978. And our St. Croix number is 340-778-7992. Currently, our St. Croix office number is under technical repair, but you can call St. Thomas office as well, and we will assist you as best as we can for St. Croix, or we can relay the information. And then there's our email you can email us at inquiry@independentlivingvi.org as well. And then we have our website. It's independentlivingvi.org. And you can send us an inquiry on the website as well.
Oh, okay. One of the things you touched upon was language and sensitivity. And I understand that you gave a very powerful speech with respect to the do's and don'ts of language. Can you share a little bit of that with us during this broadcast?
Yes. There's the medical model, and then there is the independent and disability rights model. It's called the independent living paradigm. I know the medical has their way of doing, but we don't like to be addressed this way. As a person we don't like to be addressed as a client. We're a person with a disability, a consumer or a citizen, a brother, sister, wife, brother, like everybody else. We don't like to be called a case.
Yes. Okay.
It's an individual with a disability or just a consumer, or, they have case management. That's no. We prefer a service coordinator, getting the right people and the right service to show up at the right time. Mental status. Oh, no. We like judgment. We have maybe a judgment impairment, but not a mental status. Client needs assessment. What does that mean? We prefer understanding the needs of the individual. And then they have quality assurance.
I know. Yeah.
We like making sure the people helping the individual know what they are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they have the homemaker, the home health nurse, the caregiver. We just like personal assistant.
Okay. Make it simple. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then there's the frail and disabled person. Okay. We prefer elderly and a person with a disability. We always identify the individual first, not the disability. So we have a lot of people that say that person who is blind, or that's okay, but you have to identify the person. Miss Johnson has a visual disability, or she is blind, or that's one way of doing things. So that's that's what it is.
Right. Right.
We are still individuals, and it's identifying the individual, the person first.
Right.
The person as an individual. They're no different than anybody else.
Right. Right. No, I like the descriptions and how to simplify it and make a much more clearer and humane description as to what services are needed and should be provided. I'd like for you to say, you mentioned a goal. We did talk about what's your goal. How would you, in a phrase, identify the goal of your organization?
Our goal is to make a fully inclusive society where individuals with disabilities have equal access and opportunities, resources, and environments. So everyone has the same rights. Nothing about us without us. So anything that's going on in the community, we should be able to attend. We should be able to take part. We should be able to hear the what's being discussed. Everything should be equal access.
Okay. And another thing I remember you had mentioned in previous conversations is just to strengthen the independence of people, correct?
Right. Everybody has a limitation. Whether you have, and I know you have people that have disabilities in your family, whether it's your cousin, your friend, your mother, your father, someone in your family has a disability of some kind, whether it's a learning disability, a physical disability where you can see, a hearing disability, they have a disability, and being able to defend them correctly and teaching them how to defend themselves is where we would like to see more movement in, and this is where the independent living movement, tries to get you to embrace social, these social barriers that we have. We want to knock them down.
All right. We're all for that. We're all for that. So what kinds of activities do you have coming up that you can share with us?
Well, beginning January, we're doing our MUSH, which is Mutual Aid Self-Help, every Wednesday, both on St. Thomas and St. Croix. So on St. Croix is going to be the first and the third Wednesday, and on St. Thomas is going to be on the second and the fourth Wednesday of each month, where we invite the public, if those who with disability who would like to know more about the center, or we have guest speakers, we have more information on what's going on within what's going on in Social Security and what's happening with people with certain benefits and stuff. We bring forth, people can discuss what their challenges are, that it's an open forum where they can discuss things that they see that they have issues within the community, that we can discuss and find solutions, and where solutions aren't available, that we can go to our representatives, whether it's the senators, the government of the Virgin Islands, each agency, and see where we can fix these shortfalls.
Right. Today's guest is Monique Bute. She is the director of the Center for Independent Living. Can you share again how we can get in touch with your organization?
Sure. You can give us a call in St. Thomas, it's 340-777-4978. And on our address here on St. Thomas is number 8 Ram Anna's Retreat, across the street from East End Lumber. And you can find us on St. Croix at Sci Farm Shopping Center. Their number is 340-778-7992.
All right. And just as a recap, training is offered, correct? Training services.
Training services is offered. We do individual training and we do group training. It depends on the individuals, because some individuals will prefer a one-on-one. Some would prefer a group training. They're okay with a group training, but it's based on the individual's preference.
And do you need volunteers?
Oh, yeah. I would love some volunteers, especially persons who has some knowledge of budgeting, of maybe even just assisting in helping with identifying spices or just everyday thing, how to make a sandwich, to just assist in just being a support. Maybe volunteer to go with someone to the bank as a guide as well.
That sounds good. Folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. Our guest today was Monique Bute, Director of the Center for Independent Living. Thank you, Ms. Bute. Everyone, have a great day.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or